JFD, just fair and direct.
Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today's the 19th of October 2020. So yep, welcome everyone. Welcome to this Monday's afternoon session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets. Some of the charts that I looked at this morning, some new ones. But yep, as always guys, before we jump into that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then, just before we jump into the charts, a quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos. And of course, our JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page, which we also update on a daily basis. So yeah, feel free to visit us here on jfdbank.com and click on the research tab right there on the top. So now then, jumping into the charts, the first one I want to pick up here is the German DAX. Now, the index is trading slightly in the red today. However, it did have a good start. It did push at one point. It did push above that 13,000 territory, but as you can see, it kind of failed to stay above that area and drifted back down. But not only that, it also drifted back below the 21-day EMA. So in other words, actually what we're going to be keeping an eye on here is how and where this daily candle is going to end today, because at the moment it's too tricky. On one hand, we could see this one drifting lower here, moving towards this lower side of the rising channel. But on the other hand, it could also, make its way higher. As it is always the case. However, let's be a little bit on the safe side, because like I said, we are currently oscillating around the 21-day EMA. If you want to look at some higher levels, wait again for that push above that 13,000 territory. And if we do see that daily candle, staying above that 13,000 mark, then yep, that could be a good sign for more bulls to join in. Of course, if we want to be very positive about all the upside scenario here, then a push above the 13,152 territory could strengthen the upside scenario. So in other words, guys, for now we're gonna take a bit of a neutral stand here from the short-term perspective, because overall, yes, we're still positive, but from the very short-term perspective, I'm going to keep an eye on this one. If by any chance it starts falling back below this 12,842 territory, now yes, we could maybe then consider a bit of a decline here towards the lower side of the rising channel. So let's keep an eye on that one, and let's see how today's daily candle will perform. Now, Nasdaq 100. Now, the index here is, or should I say, on last week, did drift lower. The index did close in the red for the week, but of course it is quite interesting to see where it's going to go now, because if we look at the cash index and where it's currently trading at, we can see that the price is at around 12,000, or actually let me just quickly zoom in here into one of my charts. So there we go. So the price is currently balancing at around 11,930 mark. So in other words, it's above Friday's close, but still below that 12,000 territory that I spoke about previously, and I need to see a nice good pop above that area before we could maybe consider a bit of a move higher again. So at the moment, of course, on the positive side, that this short-term upside support line taken from the low the 24th of September continues to provide good support, but we need that push above that 12,000 territory first before we could consider maybe higher levels again. If this doesn't happen and instead we get a reversal and a break of the short-term upside line, now this is where you guys should remain a little bit careful, because and keep an eye on the low of last week near the 11,765 territory. A drop below this, would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and well, further declines here could be possible. So that's why be very careful for now. Yes, we are still trading above this upside line, but I hope the index can get back above the 12,000 territory. If it cannot, then all eyes are on this upside line and this 11,765 territory. Now, quick update on DXY. This is what I talked about this morning. Basically, what I was saying, that guys, yes, it was showing in the morning, especially was showing some positive signs and willingness to kind of move higher. But what I was saying, that wait for that confirmation break, and that's the reason why I'm saying all the time this, wait for that confirmation break, because as you can see, it reversed sharply to the downside, drifted below 93.37 territory, and is now, it seems like it wants to travel to that 93 zone. But as I mentioned to you previously, guys, also for the downside, I'm waiting for a drop below the 93 mark first, and then I could consider some lower levels. And if that doesn't happen, I'm still neutral here. I'm still gonna observe the price action, and with the upside, I need that confirmation break above the 93.90 territory right here in order to get a little bit more excited with the upside. Jumping into silver, and silver is moving nicely to the upside. Of course, weakness in the US dollar is helping this commodity, this precious metal, to drift for a little bit back here to the upside. On the positive note is that this short-term upside support line taken from the low the 24th of September continues to provide a good hold up here. The price is back above the 21-day EMA, but it's still not above this 25.24 level. I've mentioned this last week. I said to you guys that this is the area after a break of which I could get a little bit more comfortable with maybe examining the upside. At the moment, yes, we did have a nice rebound. However, we've seen this happening many times. It could reverse sharply to the downside. So yeah, let's wait for that confirmation break first, and then consider a possible kind of move higher here. In terms of the downside, what I could be looking at here, probably somewhere around this level here, the low of the 14th of October, near the 23.88 zone. So basically, if we get a break of this upside line and then a drop, actually not only that, maybe let me just quickly adjust this. So somewhere probably around here, guys, the 23.97, or even actually you could round it up. No, that's it. You could round it up towards the 24 mark, and you could keep an eye on that one. So in other words, a break of this upside line and a drop below the 24 zone somewhere around here, could do the trick for more sellers, and we could see this one sliding lower. Initially, I'll target the 22.89 level. If that, of course, if that break happens, initially I'll target the 22.89 level, but then I'll aim for that lowest point of September near the 21.66 mark. So let's see how all this is going to play out. But at the moment, yes, the fact that we are seeing a nice rebound from this upside line does give us a bit of positivity here. But as I said, we need that confirmation break. Now, Litecoin is, well, again, it's stuck. It's stuck between these two lines, and to be honest, until it gets out, we're not really doing anything. We're just observing here because it's way too risky, and at the moment there's no clear indication of where it wants to go, at least even in the short run. So if we do get a break of this short-term upside support line taken from the low the 21st of September, if we do get a break below this, then yes, we could consider some lower areas, especially if the price also falls below the lowest point of last week near the 45.60 territory. Excuse me. And then yes, the pair, the pair Litecoin against the US dollar could drift further south here, where we could then target levels like the low of the 2nd of October, or in other words, the current lowest point of October near the 43.22 territory, or further down. So, but again, that's in that scenario. In order to consider that scenario, we need to see a break of this upside support line. Now, if in terms of the upside, of course, the same logic. We need to see a break of this downside line taken from the high of the 17th of August. But in addition to that, to be honest, I would prefer to wait for a push above the 51.36 zone right here. There we go. Because such a move would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and of course it would already be above all of its EMAs, but in addition to that, like I said, it would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and further acceleration to the upside here could be possible. So again, if it breaks this downside line, this area right here could still be a tricky one, because it could travel higher, find good resistance here, and then drift back down. So that's why I would prefer to wait for that pop above the 51.36 zone. Jumping into a few pairs, Aud Nzd. Here, this one is drifting further south. I talked about this pair last week, and basically it's now testing that 200-day EMA, which I mentioned as well. And what I was saying, that that's going to be one of my targets. Of course, my initial target was this, the 1.0718, but a break below that. What I was saying, that if it does break below it, then the next target is the 200-day EMA here. Shown as the black line, and currently the price is getting a hold up here. So let's see if it can push further south. I mean, if it stays, if the daily candle remains below this today, below this line, then yes, we could maybe start looking at some further declines. But if it doesn't, if we see that daily candle still remaining above it, then maybe a bit of a correction here to the upside could be possible. Now, first of all, let me just get rid of all the drawings here and have a clear fresh look. Now, of course, on one hand, we do have this downside line, this short term, or actually more of a medium term now, probably. No, still short term downside, short term tentative downside resistance line taken from the high of the 18th of August. Yes, the direction is now to the downside. However, if we look at a bigger picture here, yes, it still kind of is forming these higher lows, and let's see if this one is going to be another higher a higher low here, if it's going to be another one here. But if it's not, if it's going to continue sliding, and especially if it drops somewhere below this area, below this lowest point of July, near the 1.0556 zone, roughly around here, then yes, of course, this could lead to even lower levels. But at the moment we're here, we're near this 200-day EMA. Keep your eyes on it today. If it continues to provide good support, then we may see a nice rebound here and a push back up here towards this downside line, especially if the rate climbs somewhere below, above this territory, this inside swing low here of the 6th of October, which is around the 1.0760. A nice good push above it. Yep. First of all, would place the rate above the 100-day EMA here, shown as the green line, and maybe, yep, more buyers could see this as a good opportunity to drive this one towards this downside line. But again, we need, like I said, we need that pop above this 1.0760. USD CAD here, USD CAD. I talked about this one last week, and look at this beautiful move here on USD CAD. You can see, this is what I talked about last week. Basically, what I was saying, that keep your eyes on this 1.3240 territory, which, as you can see, acted as a nice area of resistance. And yep, this scenario that I talked about last week, this move higher, potential hold up near this 1.3240, and then maybe a possible reversal here, seems to be working out nicely. So one of my targets, if this continues to slide, then one of my targets is this 1.3101 zone, or in other words 1.31 territory here, marked near the lowest point of October. If that gets broken, this would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and yep, further declines here could be possible towards the we could start aiming towards the lowest point of September here, near the 1.2995 zone. Now, in terms of the upside, what I need to see here is preferably at least a push above the high of the 7th of October near the 1.3341 zone. And if we get a nice push above it, then yes, we could consider some higher levels. At the moment, it's a bit of a tricky one here with the upside. We're leaning a little bit more to the downside, but again, like I said, let's see if this can actually drift further south. If you don't like this little territory right here, and if you believe it could be a little bit of a risky one, then probably the safe option here could be just to wait for a drop below the 1.31 territory and then aim for some lower levels, because as I said before, a drop below this 1.31 zone would confirm a forthcoming lower low. GBP USD, so this one is moving higher. At least it seems like it's trying to move higher. Again, this psychological 130 territory is kind of providing a bit of problems here for the bulls, and you can see that they're trying to lift the pair above it. So let's see if they can do that today. If they cannot, then well, I mean, it probably will stay a bit on the neutral side here. But if this daily candle does climb above this 1.30 zone and remains today above this territory, then yes, this could be a good sign for the bulls. In terms of the downside, we would need to see this one dropping at least back below the 1.2864 territory, as I mentioned last week, in order to consider a bit of a larger correction here to the downside towards this upside support line taken from the low of the 18th of May. Euro against the Turkish lira. Now, this one, I've looked at this one last week and the week before that, and basically this is just a quick update on what's happening here. And as you know, I've mentioned this one before. Basically, the euro against the Turkish lira hit an all-time high around on the 9th of October, and since then it kind of started moving sideways a little bit. And as I mentioned to you previously, that if you want to look at some lower levels, we would at least need to see a drop below the 9.2151 territory right here, marked by the high of the 29th of September. And as you can see today, for example, this area did provide good support. So a nice good drop below this area and a drop below the 21-day EMA could strengthen the idea of seeing a bit of a larger correction here to the downside. And the reason why I'm saying correction, because we're still within an uptrend, trading above this upside line here, taken from the low of the 19th of February, if I'm not mistaken, right here. So let me just, yep, 19th of February, there we go. In terms of the upside, pretty straightforward as well. A push above the all-time high near the 9.37 territory could do the trick for more buyers, as this would confirm a forthcoming higher high. And finally, Euro USD. So excuse me, Euro USD is pushing to the upside, and look at this, what I was talking about this morning, guys. This morning I've mentioned that wait for that confirmation drop below this 1.1696 territory in order to consider lower levels, because as long as it stays in here, as long as it stays, the rate stays in between these two levels, we're going to take a bit of a neutral stand and just continue observing the price action. Even for the upside, I need to see this one pushing at least back above the 1.18 territory, but even better, I would prefer to see a push now. I would prefer to see a push above the 1.1831 zone, just to get a little bit more safer on this idea of the upside. So that's why for now, yep, as long as it's going to remain in between these two levels, the 1.1696 on the downside and the 1.1831 on the upside, I'm going to take a bit of a neutral stand and just continue observing the price action. If it gets out of it, yes, that's wonderful. We could then look at a further level, but at the moment it's just neutral. So guys, I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching and listening. If you want to join me tomorrow morning, as always, my traders at my Traders Espresso, 6 o'clock GMT time, But for now, guys, I have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, and I'll see you later. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.